want to show you a couple of my very favorite hacks for your Posca pens. So my first one involves changing the tip size. So this 1M size is probably my favorite to work with. It's certainly got the finest point on it. And the tips, which look like this, they're little plastic guys, can be rinsed and maintained. All of them can be switched, but these are the easiest to clean and rehab without completely replacing the tip. So I really like that size of pen. It's also got a great fine detail, which I do a lot. But it doesn't come in every single color. Some of the newer colors, the emerald greens and dark reds, only come in the 3M size as of right now. So I want to show you a little tip for dealing with that, as well as a way to hack the colors a little further. So this is an old 3M. You can see how old and crusty this is. I pull the nib out, it's all dried up. And the reason is because I left the cap off for a while. But I'm going to use it as an example. So this 3M pen will hold the 1M nib, and this size you can pretty much get every color in. So the other advantage is it's a larger barrel, so it holds a little bit more paint. So I recommend buying, if you're looking for a deal, this size, the 3M size, and some replacement nibs in the 1M size, and just putting them in here. They fit just fine. You can switch between these. You can put the 3M in the 1M in the 3M. And that way you have more paint and more color options. So all you do is just tuck it right in there. And you've made yourself. Now this was sitting out for months with snow cap. One of my kids got a hold of it. But there's a lot of good paint still left in there, even though the nib was pretty much destroyed. We'll see if I can get it running on camera. May not be a good thing to do live, but you can see when you open these, as ready to loosen, not ready to tighten, that there's lots of good paint. Even though this is a totally dried out pen, it's definitely got some usefulness. So what I'm going to do with that off camera, I'm going to get this primed, but I'm actually going to hack the color because I don't always love the Posca brown. It's great for some things, but sometimes you want a little richer brown. They do make a chocolate, they call it dark brown. It's kind of a chocolate brown, and I like it, but it's a little on the dark side, and sometimes I want a mid-range, so I'm going to show you how to create that. Okay, so you just go ahead and loosen the top of your Posca. Be careful, and probably over a sink or a plate at least is good because they do tend to spill. You set your cap, including your nib, aside. They have these little plungers inside, which you're going to have to take out, set aside. And then I empty black Posca into these needle nose bottles. Perfect for tinting and refilling your Poscas. So I've got a decent amount of brown paint in here, but I find that the black overtakes the color really quickly. So I'm just going to start with a couple of drops, give a good shake, and see what happens. Okay, that should do. Okay, so then you just put your plunger back in, screw the top of your pen back together, and that's left to tighten counterclockwise. Find myself a cap and shake. As you know, Poscas have that metal mixing ball in the bottom. It helps shake them up, but you gotta give them some serious shaking when you're tinting to make sure that black really blends in. Now, before I even try to prime the new nib that I just put in this 3M to make it a 1M, I'm gonna just look at what my paint is doing, because I'll be able to tell if I'm needing more black or if I've gone too dark. So you can see the tip of that is showing where my paint has mixed. And I like it, but I want a little darker. I had a lot of brown in there, and I think I need a couple more drops of black. Okay. Reassemble. And you'll find, I always replace the lid because I've splattered more than once. You'll find if you try to do this, that a lot of this is trial and error because you can't totally see how much paint is in your old pen that you're hacking. So just start with a drop or two and just know you're going to mix down a few times before you really call it a day. Okay, so I'm seeing that paint start to shift. Yes, I like that. It's kind of a, oh, there you go, sample on my hand. Kind of a muddy brown instead of that bright orangey brown that Posca makes. A little bit less dark and chocolatey than the dark brown that they make. And so I love this for wood grain and shadowing. So let me get that primed and I'll show you how it compares to normal Posca. So off camera, I have set this up by priming it. I had already mixed my paint fully, shaken really well. And then it's just a matter of, like, when you get a new Posca, you're pushing and priming that tip to get your paint to flow through. The difference here is that inside of this chamber, there's a little sponge that holds a little bit of paint. And so you kind of have to flood that to rid yourself of your old color and get your new mixed paint to come through. So you're going to use a little bit of paint, waste a little bit in this process, that's okay, but just go ahead and grab usually I have a surface like this that I can just aggressively plunge my pen on until enough paint has moved through, sometimes a big puddle depending on how your plunger is functioning. Will flood through, and that's okay because then it will release your new color. So let me show you what we've got here. This is, I'm going to zoom in so you can see a little bit better. This is the original Posca brown. Okay, your standard, it's kind of an orangey brown. And then you can buy the dark brown, which is lovely. And again, I believe it only comes in the 3M size. You'll see I have a 3M size with a 1M nib here. And that looks like that. And it's lovely and chocolatey, but sometimes I need something in between. So that's what I've created here by mixing just a few drops of black with the lighter of the browns. You can also play with a drop of white in the chocolate brown. It gives you a different tone, and it's definitely worth playing with tinting and shading lots of these Posca colors. The normal green with a couple drops of black is a fantastic dark forest green, and I prefer it to the khaki that Posca makes in terms of the color I get out of that. So hopefully that was a helpful primer on using different nibs and tinting your Poscas. Have a great day.